Hello everypony, this is Rob Royale, and welcome back to another fanfic reading. This one is called A Valentine's Catastrophe by Fried Chicken 96. I know it's not Valentine's Day or even close to it, but I was reading these the other day and I'm like, you know what, it's too hard not to make something off of this. So, without further ado, this is a one-shot story, a little long, but hopefully we'll be able to get through it. Anyway, the one and only chapter, The Worst Date Ever. Let's get started. "Please stop!" I yelled, cut off by a red sauce hitting me in the face. The substance got in my mouth and eyes, leaving a sensation of burning. I coughed, unable to get the burning sensation out of my throat. I couldn't open my eyes either because they felt like they were being roasted by 1,000 suns. I tried to get away from the fight, but I tripped and landed in water. I must be in the fountain, I thought. The water helped clean the sauce off my face, so I emerged and opened my eyes. Though they still felt like they were on fire. I could see clearly. The fighting stopped, as the girls noticed me sitting in the fountain. However, Blue Blood was still being the diva that he was, still throwing food around. Twilight helped me out of the fountain. "Are you okay?" Yeah," I choked out. I guess my throat was still on fire too. Suddenly the manager stormed in with a couple of police officers, and I knew we were toast. My name is Sunset Shimmer, and well, this is how I'm spending my Valentine's Day. It didn't start out like this. Oh no, it started out much more innocently. It all began a few days ago in English class. Mr. Thesis meant well, but his lectures were extraordinarily boring. Nearly half the class was falling asleep, or playing games on their phones. I decided to write a letter to someone I consider a dear friend of mine, though for a while I've been wondering if I feel something a little more towards her. Something stronger than just friendship. Dear Twilight Sparkle. I scratched my head wondering what to write. I just wanted to talk to her because, well, I missed her. It had been about 2 months since the incident with the Dazzlings, and though we kept in touch through writing, I really wanted to see her again. We really bonded the last time she was here, and I realized that she and I have a lot more in common than I ever thought. That night at Pinky's house, that's when I first started to feel this way. Now just the thought of her brings a smile to my face, and makes my heart beat a little bit faster. Here in the human world, we have a holiday coming up called Valentine's Day. It's pretty similar to Hearts and Hooves Day back in Equestria. I know I must seem hopeless, but that was all I could think to write. I guess my feelings for her were all I could think of. The girls and I will probably be hanging out ourselves, but I don't believe any of them have a special sun-pony, person. Rarity has been talking about one guy she's hoping will get the nerve to ask her out. I think his name was Blue Blood, but I kinda doubt he will because he seems like kind of a snob. And then I got an idea. Maybe I could invite Twilight to come to this world for Valentine's Day. It would be so nice to see her again. Anyways, if you don't have anything to do for Hearts and Hooves Day, would you like to come over and hang out? It's been a while since I've seen you, and I miss you. We all miss you. Maybe we can sleep over at Pinky's again or something. Your friend, Sunset Shimmer. I closed the book and hoped that she'd reply soon. I looked up at the clock. 10 minutes until class ends, and then it's lunchtime. I sighed, reminded of a small ache in my stomach. I looked back up and watched the clock again. Each minute moved by slowly, and waiting for Twilight to respond was agony. Finally the bell rang, and my book vibrated in unison. It managed to fall off my desk and open to the page where Twilight had responded. Flash Sentry picked it up, and I watched in horror as his eyes scanned the page, taking in its contents. "You can write to Twilight in this book? Does this mean she's really coming over for Valentine's Day? Damn it, Flash. Don't you know it's rude to read someone else's journal without permission?" I took the book from his hands and held it to my chest. Yeah, I can write to Twilight with this book. I guess she'll be coming here." He looked amazed. "Why didn't you tell me about this before? I've been wanting to talk to her since the competition. Hey, do you think I can ask her on a date for Valentine's Day? Oh, this is perfect! Hand me that book so I can ask her." I grit my teeth. How dare he? He can't just expect me to let him write to Twilight using my journal just because he wants to ask her out on a date. "No, Flash, I'm not letting you write in my book. And next time, don't read someone's personal journal without asking them." "Geez, what's your deal? You don't have to be so selfish. It's like you haven't changed at all." He pouted and stormed off. Pray Celestia that he didn't stay, because I'm not sure I would have been able to stop myself from slapping him. What in the world does Twilight see in that jerk? It wasn't hard for the girls to tell something was wrong when I sat down at the lunch table. Pinkie Pie glanced up at me with a frown, no longer playing with her food. Sunset, you look like you got bit by a snake, or something else that make you really angry. Rarity nodded her head in agreement. I don't know about getting bit by a snake, but you do seem a bit on edge. Whatever is the matter, dear? I sighed. Flash found out my journal can communicate with Twilight, and now he wants to use it to ask her on a date. I told him no, and he said I was acting just like my mean old self would. Fluttershy put her hand on mine, trying to comfort me. That was rather mean of him. Rainbow Dash spoke between mouthfuls of food. Well, why didn't you let him ask Twilight out? They both like each other, and I'm sure Twilight would appreciate you setting up a date with him for her. I had to stop myself from cringing. I guess that would be a good question, considering I hadn't really told the girls how I feel for Twilight. I don't know. I guess it just doesn't sit right with me letting him use my book. I invited Twilight over for Valentine's Day to hang out with just us girls, and I didn't even get to read her response before the book fell on the floor and Flash picked it up. Applejack perked up. It sure would be nice to see Twilight again. Why don't you go ahead and read her response since you haven't yet? I brought the book out of my bag and read its newest entry aloud. Dear Sunset Shimmer, that sounds like a wonderful idea. I would love to see you girls again, and I don't really have anything planned for Hearts and Hooves Day. I'll let everyone here know I'll be leaving and we'll get ready for the trip. When would be the best time for me to come over? Your friend, Twilight Sparkle. Pinkie Pie threw up her hands in the air and squealed, Yay! This is going to be the best Valentine's Day ever! Oh, I'll have to plan a super fun party for us. I'm so excited! Rarity grinned. Well, a party would be nice, but some of us might have dates. Rainbow scoffed. Yeah, 'cause some of us wanted to date snooty rich boys with fancy hair. He is not snooty. Besides, I was speaking for Twilight as well. It seems like Flash may get the chance to ask her on a date after all when she comes over. Rarity grinned. I felt my stomach churn at the thought, and suddenly I didn't want to eat anymore. I didn't know what to do. Could I really ask Twilight to be my Valentine? I don't know if she likes girls, and I know for the fact that she likes Flash Sentry. Sunset, darling, you've been spacing out for a while. Is everything all right? I'm okay, Rarity. I just feel a little sick is all. I guess I ate something bad. Rarity pouted, and I could tell she didn't believe a word I said. Are you jealous? Oh, Celestia, did she really figure it out that easily? What are you talking about? Why would I be jealous? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because you and a certain boy who Twilight likes used to date? Phew. I guess she really had no idea after all. I swear I would laugh if it not for the fact my secret was on the line. I guess it's weird for me to keep this from them, though. After all, I know they're accepting of people like me, but I was too embarrassed to admit it. Rarity, I told you a while ago I'm not jealous at all, and Twilight can have Flash if she wants him. After all, I was only dating him to become popular. Flash can ask Twilight out if he wants to. I have no reason to care. Anyway, I said, desperately trying to change the subject. What time should I tell Twilight to come over? Pinkie answered, Well, Friday after school should be good so we can have a sleepover for all of us to hang out before Valentine's Day, and maybe she can stay with us the whole weekend. Good idea, Pinkie, I said, and wrote a response in my journal telling Twilight of Pinkie's plans. The bell rang, promptly ending our lunch period. I was grateful that I wouldn't have to endure any more of Rarity's questions for now. After school, Pinkie Pie confronted me at my locker. Hey, Sunset, why are you keeping your crush on Twilight a secret? If I had been drinking a glass of water, I would have been doing one of those spit takes like on TV. How did you find out? She grinned as cheerful as ever. It was easy, silly. Obviously, since you don't want Flash and Twilight to date, and you don't like Flash, that means you like Twilight. I sighed. I guess it was kind of obvious. Do you think the other girls figured it out too? Maybe, but I don't know for sure. Why do you keep it a secret anyway? You know we would all support you regardless, right? Of course I do, Pinkie. I guess I'm just a little embarrassed, and I'm probably not going to tell Twilight how I feel anyway. Pinkie gasped in a dramatic kind of way that only she could pull off. But why not? If you don't tell her how you feel, you'll never know if she feels the same way. I sighed, closing my locker and leaning against it. I know she doesn't feel the same way because she already likes Flash. There's no point in telling her how I feel. Pinky grabbed my shoulders, staring into my eyes with determination. No, I won't let you give that up. You can't just let Flash steal your waifu like that. If you try, I bet you can steal her heart easy. I noticed a few people starting to stare at us. Not so loud, Pinky. And what the heck is a waifu? A waifu is what Twilight will be once you confess to her. So don't give up, okay? I believe in you. With that said, she gave me a quick hug and took off running, shouting something about ships. The next day at lunch, I decided it was time to tell the girls about my feelings for Twilight. Despite the fact that they're my friends, I still had butterflies in my stomach. I picked up my food, not really feeling that hungry. I decided to stall. So how was class been today? I asked them. It was good, Fluttershy said with a smile. My essay on animals got an A+. That's great, Fluttershy, I answered. Of course she got a good grade. She's quite passionate on the topic, even though she's a bit outspoken. My classes have been kind of boring, Rainbow said. History in particular. I just don't really care. Why do we have to learn about this stuff? I want to be an athlete, not a historian. No offense, Sugar Cube, but it's pretty important to learn about history. It's important to avoid making the same mistakes as people did in the past, Applejack explained. Well, I'm not a politician either. I honestly couldn't care about stupid, boring, dumb history. Ugh! Rainbow groaned. I actually kind of like history, I admitted. It's pretty interesting learning the differences between this world's history and equestrian history. And honestly, human history was pretty violent. Pfft, you don't get to talk, Mist Sunset All A's Shimmer. Rainbow sighed. I just don't understand how all these subjects are so easy for you. Well, I did go to an advanced school back home. I even got to study under Princess Celestia herself. She taught me everything I need to know about magic, and you'd be surprised how much math goes into advanced spells. In fact, I spent most of my days in the library studying. I really miss magic. Why does this world have to be so empty of it? You know, Sunset, I never would have guessed you were such a nerdy egghead. I laughed. Yeah, I guess I kind of am. So, I decided to go ahead and ask Blue Blood on a date for Valentine's Day. Rarity spoke with a look of pride on her face. And he said yes! She squealed. Isn't it a little strange for a girl to ask a guy out? Applejack asked. Well, it's not the most typical thing, but I couldn't wait for him to ask me any longer. Besides, the end result will be the same no matter who asks whom. I've liked him for much too long to be able to wait for him to ask me. Rarity grinned. Speaking of crushes, Pinky said, looking directly at me. Damn it, Pinky, she knew I was avoiding this. Oh, little Miss Egghead has a crush? Fess up! Rainbow said with a laugh. I sighed. Yeah, I kinda do. I felt my cheeks grow hot. Rarity raised her eyebrow, and I had a feeling she already knew who it was. Do tell, darling. I think we'd all like to know. I promise I won't judge. I swallowed, fighting against my nerves. I like Twilight, I finally said. I looked down at my food, unable to look at any of them in the eyes. I guess I should have said something sooner, but it just felt kind of embarrassing. Also, I've always kind of liked girls better than boys, and I know that kind of freaks some people out. Hey, chin up, Rainbow said. I looked at her and she was smiling. To be honest, I like girls too. I even used to date a girl named Gilda a couple years ago. We went to soccer camp together. She blushed. I smiled. Thanks, Rainbow. You don't have to worry, Sunset. None of us will think of you any differently, Fluttershy said with a smile. I guess I had nothing to worry about after all. Thanks, girls. It means a lot. Well, Rarity started. Are you going to tell her when she comes? I probably should, I said, especially if Flash wants to ask her on a date. I can't let him beat me to it. Well, what can we do to help, Sugar Cube? Applejack asked. We need to get to the portal right after school on Friday to make sure that she doesn't wander around the school and see Flash, I explained. But what do we do if Flash sees us waiting at the portal and decides to wait for us? Rainbow asked. I guess we need someone to distract him and make sure he leaves. That sounds like a good plan to me, Pinkie exclaimed. Friday afternoon came quickly, and I sat in my class staring at the clock with anticipation, both excited and nervous for Twilight's arrival. When the bell finally rang, I jumped out of my seat, causing the teacher to glare. Get back in your seat, Miss Shimmer. Just because the bell has rung does not mean class is dismissed. I have one more announcement before I can let you all go. Are you kidding me? I heard a few students groan and we all sat back down. Damn this teacher! Doesn't she understand we have things to do after class? It took an extra 5 minutes for her to finish talking and finally let us out of class. Finally free, I jumped out of my seat and ran out the door. I just had to get to the statue before she arrived. The hallway turned into an obstacle course, as I had to dodge groups of people coming and going. I was nearly to the front of the school before I crashed into someone who just walked out of the classroom. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Sunset? I looked down at Flash Sentry, who I'd managed to fall on top of. Here, I said, offering him my hand to help him up. Just because I don't like him doesn't mean I shouldn't act civil. I'm sorry for knocking you down. It's okay, he said, letting me pull him up. What's the hurry, though? I racked my brain, trying to think of an excuse. Hi, Sunset. Hi, Flash. I froze. That voice. No. Please, no. Twilight smiled at the two of us. I got here a little early, so I figured I'd come inside and find everyone. I was mentally screaming when I saw Flash take Twilight's hand, and she blushed. Twilight, it's really good to see you again. I was wondering if maybe you'd like to go out to dinner with me on Valentine's Day. No, this can't be happening. What do I do now? I stared at Twilight in horror, waiting for her to answer. Will she say yes? Is there some chance? Any chance that she'll say no? Okay, that sounds like fun. I'd love to. Of course she'd say yes. Why would I expect anything different? I think something in me died a little bit at those words. Twilight and Flash were going on a date for Valentine's Day. I could just picture it. The two of them eating together, laughing together, and then kissing under a brightly lit moon. I wanted to scream and throw up at the same time. Just the thought of them together, kissing, it made my stomach churn. But Twilight really liked him, and I wanted her to be happy, even if it meant letting Flash have her. I guess it was pointless to hope that I'd ever have a chance. Sunset, you there? I was brought out of my trance by Twilight looking at me, with her brows wrinkled in concern. I hadn't even noticed that Flash left. Oh, yeah, sorry. I just spaced out for a minute. Let's go find the other girls. I'm sure they'll be happy to see you too. She still seemed a little worried, but didn't say anything else. The other girls were waiting at the front of the school like we planned, and were surprised to see me walking up to them with Twilight already here. Oh, hello, darling. Rarity greeted with a wary smile. It sure is nice to see you again, though I thought you'd be here 10 minutes from now. Well, I got here a bit early. I thought Spike would be coming along, but it turns out he managed to get a date for Hearts and Hooves Day at the last minute and wanted to stay. That's wonderful. Good for him. I didn't know that dogs could go on dates. Rarity smiled sheepishly, obviously confused on the matter. Well, he's a dragon over there, so he's not treated like a pet, which means he can get a date with a pony, she explained. Fluttershy looked up in conclusion. But if a dragon becomes a dog and a pony becomes a human, wouldn't that be bestiality? I stopped paying attention at that point. I guess you could say I was sulking as we walked to Pinkie Pie's house. Applejack nudged me with an elbow and whispered to me while the others were distracted. Did she meet up with Flash after all? I nodded. Yep, and they're going to dinner tomorrow night, too. She put her hand on my shoulder and whispered, I'm so sorry, Sugar Cube. Pizza's here! Pinkie Pie shouted, bringing 2 large boxes into her bedroom, and everyone grabbed a slice. We all sat on Pinkie's bed, munching on our own slices. So, what you girls want to do tomorrow? Pinkie asked. I know Rarity has a date, but we can schedule fun around that. I actually have a date too, Twilight said, and I noticed a few of the girls' eyes go wide. Flash asked me to dinner tomorrow night. She blushed and brushed her fingers through her hair. It's not fair that she can act so cute thinking about Flash. He sure is lucky to have a girl like Twilight fawning over him. Hey, I have a super exciting game for us to play, Pinkie squealed. Twilight, go find Maud's pet boulder and feed him exactly 15 gallons of whipped cream. What? No time for questions. You have exactly 5 minutes to do it or you'll lose. The game starts now! Pinky said, pushing Twilight up. But Pink... Clock is ticking, Twilight. Clock is ticking. Fine, Twilight said, hurrying out the door. Okay, we have 5 minutes till Twilight comes back, so we gotta make a new plan. Operation Sunlight. Pinky cried, jumping on to her bed. Pinky, I don't think there's anything we can do at this point, I said with a sigh. No way I'm letting you give up. There's gotta be something we can do. Come on, people, think! Pinky shouted. Well, maybe we could have a double date. That way Blue Blood and I could keep an eye on them. That's a good start, Rarity, but we need something bigger, something better, something that will guarantee that Sunset will get a chance to confess her feelings to Twilight. Pinky, that really isn't necessary, I began. Flash makes Twilight smile and blush, and I can't do that. She deserves someone who will make her happy. Sure, Cube, Flash and Twilight barely even know each other. It's just a crush, and Twilight could figure out that she likes someone else more. I don't know, I sighed, tracing the pattern on Pinky's blanket with my finger. I guess it's possible, but what if Twilight has so much fun on her date that she decides she wants to keep dating him forever? Well, we could make sure that she has a bad date, Pinky exclaimed. Wouldn't that be kind of mean? I asked. Maybe a little, but it depends on how we do it. Rarity, what kind of costumes do you have? Pinky asked. Hold on, what do we need costumes for? Rainbow asked. Disguises, duh. We're going to disguise ourselves and follow Twilight around on a date. We can interrupt them if things get too romantic. Pinky smiled. Operation Sunlight will be a total success. I'm not so sure about this, Pinky. Don't you think it'd be a little silly to dress up and follow her around like that? Before anyone could answer my question, Twilight burst through the door, covered in whipped cream and holding a rock. I did it, she panted, before Maud came up behind her and tackled her to the ground, taking Boulder from her hands. Boulder doesn't like being held by strange people. Don't do this again, she said, walking out calmly and closing the door. I think we should play a different game, Twilight said, trying to catch her breath. Good job, Twilight. You won, which means you get to have the first shower tonight, and I think you need it. Pinky giggled and picked some whipped cream off of Twilight's head and stuck it in her mouth. Tasty! At around midnight, the girls decided it was time to go to sleep. However, I couldn't seem to fall asleep. I stared up at the ceiling, hearing the clock tick and Rainbow's snore. I glanced at the clock. It read 2:45. I sighed and got up, careful not to wake the others as I left the room. I went to the kitchen, got a glass of water, and sat at the counter. I took a sip, and then watched the ice spin around in the cup when I set it back down. I couldn't stop thinking about how terrible things were going. Twilight and Flash would be going on a fancy dinner date tomorrow, and I couldn't stop it. I knew that Pinky was planning to ruin their date, but that didn't make me feel any better. I'd rather just accept my loss and let them enjoy their date. The moment kept playing over and over in my head. It all happened so fast. I wondered if I just managed to say something that maybe I could have changed things. It would have been even better if I hadn't run into Flash. Maybe then I would have met up with Twilight instead before she could talk to him. I was interrupted from my thoughts by the sound of footsteps heading towards the kitchen. Twilight entered with a yawn and got herself a cup of water as well. Sorry if I woke you up, I said. It's okay, she responded, rubbing the sleep from her eyes and taking a seat next to me. I'm actually kind of glad that we get to talk like this again, especially since we didn't get much time to talk one-on-one earlier today, she said, taking a sip of her water. I smiled. Yeah, I've been wondering how things are going back home in Equestria. It's actually been kind of boring. I've mostly been getting things moved into my new castle. Honestly, it's still pretty weird that I live in a castle, she sighed. Not so easy being a princess, is it? I wouldn't say that. Though I do have some new responsibilities as the Princess of Friendship, sometimes it just feels like a fancy title. Celestia raises the sun, Luna raises the moon, and Cadance runs the Crystal Empire. But what do I do? Make friends? I barely even managed to help you guys defeat the Dazzlings. I couldn't believe that she felt so down on herself. I put my hand on her shoulder and she looked up at me. You really shouldn't sell yourself short. You've done lots of great things. You reformed Nightmare Moon, Discord, and me too. I'm so grateful to you that you've helped me change. I don't even know who I was back then, but I never want to be like her again, so thank you, Twilight Sparkle. Twilight had a look of surprise on her face. Wow, I guess I never really thought about it like that. You know, I'm really glad that we met. Even if it wasn't under the best circumstances, I've learned so much just from being in this world, and I'm sure there's even more left for me to learn. Not to mention, I'm really glad that we've become friends, so thank you too, Sunset Shimmer. Her smile was so bright, so genuine that my heart rate quickened and I felt my cheeks redden. I looked back down at my drink, hoping she wouldn't notice. It makes me really happy to hear you say that, I finally answered. Well, I think we should both try and get some sleep. It's pretty late after all, Twilight said. Yeah, I agreed. Talking to Twilight helped me feel a little bit better. I had no more trouble trying to fall asleep. Alright, I'm going to pick this up in a part 2 because this is longer than I anticipated. Thank you for listening and tuning in. Violent Octavia University Days will be back after this, and basically just doing these 2 recordings in one night. Go leave a comment on Fried Chicken 96's page on fanfiction.net and tell him what an awesome job he's done with this story. Anyway, I will see you all in part 2 and the next parts of Violent Octavia University Days. Thank you for listening. Stay brony, everybody.